Okay, Chevra, welcome back. We are learning Sefer Pituchei Chotam from Rabi Yakob Avicha Tzeira, and we are about to start Sefer Devarim. Baruch Hashem, Hashem has given us the koach to learn 4 of the Chumashim, and we begin the 5th with Sefer Devarim. Here we go. Eila Hadavar Shadiber Moshe El Kol Yisrael. This is what Moshe spoke to all of Klal Yisrael, Ba'Ivar Yarden, Ba'Midbar, in the desert, Ba'Arava, Mile Suf, Ben Param, Ben Teifel, V'Levan, V'Chatzer, Zedizahav. What are these places? What are these words? Rashi tells us, L'fishein divrei techachas, because these are words of rebuke. Umana kan kolam akaimes, and he's enumerating all of the places shechis lopnei amakim bahen, that the Klal Yisrael Kaviyachol got Hashem upset. Anger Hashem. Lefikach sasam as devarim. Therefore, he only mentioned the beremez, v'skim beremez, nekvoidin sheisol, to give cover to Klal Yisrael. How Moshe Rabbeinu was so careful to give cover to Klal Yisrael. Even when he's giving teichacha, he was rebuking them. He said it in a way, I hope you get the hint, Chevra. Beremez. So Rabi Yakob takes Rashi's lead, and he gives a remazim that for us that we could take from these psukim as well. So, let's start with Bamidbar. Says Rabi Yaakov, Bamidbar, in the desert. Well, that word so awfully looks familiar. He says that is actually similar to Dibur. Mia isha chavetz chaim. Someone who loves life. David HaMelech tells us, you got to be careful with your Dibur. And this is number one. The first Nakuda that you got to work on, says Rabbi Yaakov, is Dibur. Nitzar l'shen chameros v'sachiv daber mirma. Be careful with what you say and how you say it. And fakir, use your words to speak words of Torah and tefillah. Number one, bamidbar dibur. Watch your words. Ba'arava. Now this is an interesting word, ba'arava. Ba'arava means sweet. Va'arev Hashem. We ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'harev na Hashem l'keinu z'v'seroscha. Hashem, make the words of Torah sweet. There's another thing that, the Yetzer Hara is a great friend of sweetness, and he tries to allure us and to get us to do things because they seem so sweet. So Rabbi Yaakov tells us, Ba'arav, you have to be careful with things that seem sweet, because the acharisa mara chala'ana, because its end could be as bitter as wormwood. The word ba'arava looks sweet, but if you look closely at it, you see the words ra, ba. There's evil inside. And on that chas v'shalom to say that things that are sweet are no good. But the Yetzer Hara uses sweet, things that, taivas, things that allure us, that'll make us feel good, that promise us the instant gratification. And he says you gotta be careful. There's rabba. Be careful, there's rabba, says Rabbi Yaakov. There's evil. Moil suf. This is an interesting word. Rabbi Yaakov gives us 2 ideas in the word suf. Suf, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is called the Ein Sof, the infinite. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is magid mereishis achris. He says, I foretell the end from the beginning. So before you do something that might not be so good, think HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows it all. And secondly, schar aver keneged schar. The Pirkei Avos tells us to always make a cheshbon of what's going to happen at the end. Safe, keep the end in mind. What you're doing now may look good, but keep the end in mind. Some advice for Moshe Rabbeinu. Bein paran uvein teifel. Well, Rabbi Yaakov was bothered. Why? If you're talking about 2 places, then you would say bein paran leteifel. What's bein paran uvein teifel? Rabbi Yaakov says that Moshe Rabbeinu is being meramis to us, to the mitzvah of puravu, of intimacy. And when we're intimate, when a man is intimate with his wife, so you have to make sure to be makadosh your machshava, to think properly, to focus on your wife, not chas v'shalom to have other hirhurim at that time, and that it should be lishma for the mitzvah of puravu, and not chas v'shalom for other things. The word bein paran is a remes to the mitzvah of puravu, and at that time you got to make sure you're focused on the mitzvah, as opposed to bein teifel, which is a play on the word tiflus. The Gemara says that a person shouldn't teach his daughter Torah, because anybody who teaches his daughter Torah, it's ki'ilu malamda tiflus. Tiflus is promiscuity. So you have to make sure that b'shas mitzvah, you're distinguish bein paran ubein taifo, between what is good and what is not, between tar and tamei, between the mitzvahs and chas v'shalom, the opposite. V'lavan. Says Rabi Yakob, lavan is white. That means a person is straight. He's honest. He's liba piv liba shavin. He speaks what he thinks. He thinks what he speaks. He's not one way on the outside and different on the inside. He's not a hypocrite. The word lavan, you see the word lev in it, heart. The word bigamatria, lavan, is 82 plus 3 for each letter. 85 is the word peh. You want your peh and your lev to be shava. The chatzeres, what are the chatzeres? Those are the chatzeres Hashem. Nichsava v'gam kol sanavshi lechatzeres Hashem. To spend our times in Beis Medrash, to spend our time in the Beis HaKnesses. That's the chatzar Hashem. Not just in your chatzar, but in the chatzeres Hashem, in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's courtyard. That's the Beis Medrash and the Beis HaKnesses. The di zahav, and finally to say dai zahav, to be able to be sameach b'chelkai, and to say, what I have, that's enough. Dai, that's it. What I have is enough. That's the remez. Rabbi Yaakov is being remez to Chacham for us before we get to Tisha B'av. Dvarim is always right before Tisha B'av. A little, way to straighten ourselves out and to think properly. And an avodah of dibur, of leiv, of samech b'chelkai. Now, one more point here. Rabbi Yaakov goes on to a lot of Muramis to Kabbalah in the next few psukim, but I wanted to take out one nakuda from it at least. We've discussed in the past the number 11. The concept of kol hamoisav geireya is the number 11. When you add, you actually detract, because the Ardut Svirus, you go to 11, that's already Ra. Look what goes next. It says, there was a journey of 11 days from Har Sinai to Har Seir, and we wanted to take that journey to go to Har Seir, where Esav's place, and be metaken and raise up all of the klipas, raise up all of the achadasar, everything that belongs to Sitra Achar. We had the Kayach of Torah. When does Moshe give this speech? It's in the 11th month. Remember that 11 is the 11 arurim. There were 11 curses given. 11 arurim. That's the side. That's the koyach of the Sitra Achra. The way we're masaking that is through the Keteris. The Keteris had 11 samman, 11 spices in it. You know who gave Moshe Rabbeinu the Keteris, the secret of the Keteris? That came from the Malach HaMavas. So by doing Keteris, we bring in the evil and we're masaking it and we're malid. That's what we could do by following these instructions. Then we follow the instructions, we're able to be maleh. We're able to bring out the goodness and to take away that koyach. The reason why I have such fights, says Rabi Yakob, is because the Sitra Achra, the Yitzhar, knows that if we do the right thing, well, then he has no koyach. He only, his nourishment comes from our averos kavyach. That's where he gets his nourishment. So he's fighting for his life. And the more we are able to mitkaber and we're able to do the right thing, we take away his life force. And eventually, death will be gone. Moshe explains the Torah. And later on in Dvarim it says, "V'chasavta alavanam es kol divrei Torah hazayz be'er heitev." It was a great explanation. Heitev was very good. Says Rabi Yaakov, what was heitev? Heitev was translated into all 70 languages. Hey, spelled out like this. Hey yud tes vez. It's spelled the word equals 70. And 70 is also the gematria of Seid. Moshe taught them all of the Seid, because when we get involved in Pnimiyas HaTorah, that's the koyach we have to take out all of the bimala, all the nitzaisis, to bring out all the goodness from all the different places in the world. So Rabbeinu Yaakov gives us the beginning of Sefer Devarim, a little mussar. He tells us to focus on our dibur first and foremost, and to be careful of things that look sweet, and keep the end in mind, and be mekadosh yourself b'shas mitzvah. Be echad bepeh, ve'echad belev. Spend time in the Beis Medrash, spend time in the Beis HaKnesses, and say Tizav enough. And in that way, Be'ezus Hashem will be able to makrif keteris. We'll be able to take out the nitzitzis from those 11 arurim and be able to see goodness in our life.